It begins in a quiet village by the coast, where the wind that once powered fishing boats now turns the blades of a giant turbine. The land looks greener, the air is cleaner, but for many who live here, the question lingers: what changed and who really gained? Across India and the global south, this story is repeating itself. As the world races to decarbonize, billions in public and private capital pour into green projects, wind, solar, and carbon markets. On paper, these efforts promise clean energy, climate action, and sustainable growth. But beneath this green promise lies a deeper question: whose land, whose livelihoods, and whose consent powered this transition? Forests, coastal commons, and grazing land spaces, once held and managed by communities, are now being leveraged for carbon finance, often without clear rules on rights, benefits, or accountability. India's Forest Rights Act 2006 recognized community rights over forest commons. Yet, carbon offset projects frequently overlook these protections. Odisha's tribal villages, for example, have seen conservation and carbon initiatives restrict access to resources vital for livelihoods, even as companies earn credits sold in global carbon markets. Similarly, in Kenya, community conservancies host carbon projects that generate international revenue. But distribution often favors intermediaries, leaving communities with limited economic gains. The economic tension is clear. Green finance generates profits for investors and states, but local communities shoulder opportunity costs, losing grazing, firewood, or fishing rights resources that sustain both culture and economy. Carbon markets operate on the principle of tradable emissions reductions. Companies purchase credits to offset emissions elsewhere, often from forests or renewable energy projects in the global south. India is a significant participant, both as a host of carbon offset projects and as a supplier of renewable energy credits. But policy gaps persist. Benefit sharing mechanisms are inconsistent or absent. FPIC, free, prior, and informed consent, is often not enforced rigorously. Monitoring and accountability rely heavily on certification agencies, not community oversight. Economically, this creates market inefficiencies and risks, alienating communities whose support is critical for long-term sustainability. Without clear frameworks, carbon finance can inadvertently undermine rural livelihoods while inflating investor profits. Addressing this requires a dual policy and economic approach. First, legally codified benefit sharing frameworks. Any carbon revenue from projects on commons should guarantee communities a fixed portion of profits, ideally tied to measurable ecosystem services. Second, rigorous FPIC enforcement. Communities must have a genuine say in project design, approval, and ongoing monitoring. Economically, this increases project legitimacy and reduces conflict, ensuring that carbon finance actually incentivizes conservation rather than displacement. Third, transparent market mechanisms. Credits sold internationally should include reporting on local economic impacts. Investors, states, and multilateral agencies can tie financing to social audits, ensuring communities directly benefit from global decarbonization efforts. Policy interventions like these not only protect human rights but unlock economic efficiency. Projects supported by empowered communities are less risky and more sustainable. The global carbon economy is accelerating, but if policy and economic incentives ignore those who steward the land, we risk creating new inequalities under the guise of sustainability. Who owns the winds, the forests, and the coastlines? The answer should not just be investors or governments. It must include the communities whose livelihoods are intertwined with these commons. Balancing climate ambition with social justice is not optional. It is economically prudent. The future of carbon markets in India and across the global south depends on policies that align green finance with equitable local development, ensuring that decarbonization is truly a shared gain.